Alrighty, good morning, everybody. We are here for another episode of our 30 by 30, Her Story, Her Strength. Now, I know you see this beautiful goddess beside us, and who's not in uniform, because actually, did you know at the sheriff's office, we don't just have deputies, we have civilian slash professional staff. So this portion of our series, we're going to be highlighting our professional staff, also known as civilians. So, to the lady of the hour, who are we here with today?
Hi, my name is Diana Ogilvy, and I'm with the Communications Department in the Cobb County Sheriff's Office.
Diana Ogilvy. Ogilvy. What's that? What's the origin of that last name?
It's Scottish. Yeah, so Scotland, if you hear an accent, I'm originally from Jamaica, so Scotland and Jamaica has a long history. And it actually started, with the Middle Passage, slave.
So are you a history teacher as well?
No, I'm a history buff though. I want to know the origin of things.
I love that. Yes. Okay, so Diana Ogilvy, and so you said you work with the communications department. So what's your role there?
So my official title is Senior Communications Specialist, focusing on brand and content.
Okay, brand and content. Now, for those who may not kind of know, like they put it all under one umbrella, but express to us, what is that exactly?
So my job is to make sure that everything that we put out for the sheriff's office, everything looks the same, sounds the same, has a certain elevated appeal. You know, my team calls me the font Nazi, because if we don't use the fonts that have been approved, my team has a problem.
Yeah, because we have a brand kit that expresses all that.
Exactly. Okay. So once you get off the way, I'll put you back on track.
All right, it's getting feisty. So, okay, so Diana, so I'm going to take it this is your first job in law enforcement?
Yes, it is.
So how did you get here then? And then after that, tell me, where's your background from?
Okay, well, so my background is actually in food and travel writing.
Okay.
But I've always been a storyteller.
Yes.
Over the years, I've worked with different brands, different companies, as well as, personal individuals. So focusing on B2B or B2C storytelling.
Okay.
So when I saw this ad and, it just appealed to me, and I said, I could tell some stories for the sheriff's office, and law enforcement really has this kind of image issue. And
can you elaborate on that? What do you mean?
Well, especially in our community, we see that the issues with law enforcement aren't normally appealing, right?
Yes.
So as a storyteller, I want to get to the heart of who are these men and women behind the badges, so we could kind of like even out the playing field, because at the end of the day, everybody has a beating heart. We're all human beings.
Come on, beating heart, I love that.
So just getting to the heart of that and just making sure that the stories that we tell are amplified and on an even playing field. And, tug at the heartstrings a bit.
So essentially, you wanted to help maybe change the perception of maybe how people saw law enforcement professionals and maybe saw a softer side, a more exciting side.
Yeah, a more human side. Not to sound reductive, but, at the end of the day, we want everyone to be humanized.
Yes.
Right? What is your story? Who are you? There's this poem that I love is by Paul Laurence Dunbar. It says, "We wear the mask that grins and lies. It hides our face and it shapes our eyes." Yeah. So everybody has a mask. And I see that more so in law enforcement, where I have this bravado, this toughness. But the longer I've been here, most of these guys and gals are just like teddy bears.
Yes.
But of course, because of the danger that is represented within the job, they have to have their guards up.
Absolutely.
And my job is to like chip away at that iceberg. Just give me a smile. Show me if I'm capturing a picture. Just let me see that human side of you, and I can translate that to the public and making our agency look a little bit better.
I love that. How long have you been with the sheriff's office?
So 2 years I've been with the sheriff's office. So when Sheriff Owens came in, he actually started the first communications department for this agency.
Thank you, Sheriff.
So I was one of the first people that was hired to tell the stories, to tell the agency story.
So I would assume with something new, you have your highs and your lows, your challenges and so forth. What have the challenges been for you coming into an agency, for one, in law enforcement, which is a brand new field that you had never worked in, and then a new department who's never had a communications, and here you are, like what challenges did you go through and how did you overcome them?
So coming from a lifestyle content background where everything was bubbly and it's great and I'm telling stories and, we're eating food across the globe and, we're doing all these wonderful things, and then coming into law enforcement now, it was, and to some extent it still is, a tough shell to crack. But what I've noticed is that the longer you've been here, the more you culture and build relationships with people, then you get to see a little bit more, right? There was this, I like to call it, it was like this big wall or a mountain, and people were like, why do we need communications? What are you doing with your camera? Get away with your camera. Like, we don't want this here, and being synonymous that they think that we were pro-press.
Yes.
Like, that was the funniest thing to me because we work with the press, but our responsibility is the agency, right?
Yeah.
So they thought that, we will be leaking stuff to the press. And so it was a very secretive and very hard nut to crack here with perceptions, right? And people thinking, oh, communications is so easy. All you have to do is take a picture and put it up on social media. Wrong.
Very wrong.
It's wrong because we'll have meetings, we'll make sure that everything we're putting out has multiple eyes. There's different levels of approval before things go out. We make sure that we're all like grammar Nazis. Okay, no, it's THERE. Oh no, it's THEIR. So we make sure that everything is actually pristine before it goes out. So the longer that I've been here, and I've noticed this even better, like colonels and lieutenants are coming up to me, sending emails with ideas for social media.
Right,
so it's just like a big turnaround, from the beginning to where we are now, just to see that we are for the agency. We want to make the agency look good. And when they're, through difficult times, through hard times, we're here to make sure that we are sustained.
Yes, and I think, what also makes your job essential because you're needed. People, I think, forget that communication specialists, we are the storytellers of the agency. And I want to say within these 2.5 years, is it how long? Almost 3?
Yeah, wow.
I think what I've seen on social and websites, I think the communications job has been doing an amazing job. So thank you, Miss Diana.
Thank you. We are.
Oh, it's about her now. But let's talk about the 30 by 30, right? So thank you for the background. So of course, as you know, the 30 by 30 is essentially wanting to get more women in law enforcement, 30% or more by the year 2030. And as we know, our sheriff, he's definitely very much behind that. I think we've definitely met our quota of having 30% women working at the sheriff's office for sure.
For sure.
But for you, as a woman, and even more a black woman, I want to kind of talk about in this role, how has that been for you? And do you feel any differences compared to if you were a male professional staff working in law enforcement? Do you feel a little different because you're a woman working in your role here?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, because law enforcement is predominantly male, right? It's predominantly masculine. I have noticed a difference, and I don't know if it's a matter of they're thinking women are incompetent, but it's what they see, right? If they're just seeing men in these different roles, but what I notice is that when I stand 10 toes down and I'm not budging, and I give them a steady gaze, they take me more seriously.
Okay, so you have to be more assertive.
I definitely have to be more assertive, just shoulders back and this is what we're doing. No, you move over here, especially if I'm composing a shot or if we're dealing with the press, these are the things that we have to make sure that we take care of. Communication is not the enemy.
Yeah.
Comms is not the enemy. We're here to make us look in the best possible light.
Is that not ever kind of intimidating to have these men in law enforcement looking at you first of all, they may say, oh, she's not even law enforcement, and she's a woman. Do you feel intimidated by that in any way?
Me? No.
Can you tell me why? Because most people would feel intimidated. Why?
Initially, I was. Okay. But then once I started leaning on my skills, I'm a photographer, I'm a videographer, I'm a writer. You know, these days the kids call it content creator. But, you know, once I started leaning on my skill set, the confidence just bloomed and it just blossomed even more. Sure, there were technical things that I didn't know in terms of they're big on hierarchy here, right?
Yes.
And I've kind of lived my life. It's better to ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission. And I do consider myself in a little bubble as a professional staff and in communications, because I'm getting in through doors that an average deputy or maybe a CJS does not. Like, I'm in the room with the sheriff. I'm with the sheriff probably 3-4 times out of the week, covering things with him, the command staff as well. So I have access to top brass that average employee here does not, and I don't take that for granted. So I use my access as well as my expertise, and that boosted my confidence.
That was good. I enjoyed that little part, right? Okay. So, being that, I want to first go back and say that I appreciate that you said you don't take that for granted, you know, because do you ever feel that, you know, maybe like deputies, do you feel like there may be some type of feelings towards you, even more so male deputy, that you have that kind of access to top brass? You ever feel that way here?
I have not. No one has made me feel that way. And the thing is, I'm not a hoarder of information. So if I hear something at command staff that the sheriff wants the whole agency to know, then if I'm in a conversation in the, you know, staff dining, or I'm out shooting with a deputy, camera, not a real gun, I will pass that information along. And so far, it's just been appreciated, you know, so I don't hoard information.
Okay. And so with your job, and I'm going to ask you this, but I want you to give it from a female lens. What do you feel like you have brought to the agency as a woman in the communications department and for the agency as a whole?
I think for me, I bring a level of empathy that has not really been seen through the lens of just softening a bit, right? So, and also, like, I love finding out who these people are that work for us, you know? And it's like, it just comes with a conversation, because we have people here who are great singers, who are craft people, you know, who do like all these different creative things, but they also carry a gun to protect and serve. And I just find that mind-blowing. I don't know why, but it's just something, because, again, everybody just presents so tough. Like, you know, I'm law enforcement, but then you also paint. You know, you're also a mom. You're also a dad. You know, you play softball. There's other things that you do, although this takes up the majority of your, you know, your day. But I want to know who you are beyond the badge, behind the badge.
And when you spoke about empathy, can you give me like an example how you feel that you've kind of brought that as a female to the agency, brought more empathy in your role?
So for me, I think I really focus when I'm behind my camera, I really want to show the diversity of our agency, right? And I made that a point of duty. So I will showcase the different, this month is, you know, it's Hispanic Heritage Month. So it's coming up with content ideas that showcases who we are. So Hispanic awareness, of course, you know, I do video series for Black History Month, you know, working with 30 by 30 content as well. And just making sure that if I see someone that works for us that isn't out in the general public, like it isn't known as, like, it's not a straight white male, I'm taking a picture. I'm taking a picture of the, you know, the deputy who has locks, you know, the CJS who is Latino, and just putting that out there, because, you know, one of the things that Sheriff has said that really sits with me is the agency is a representative of Cobb County. And Cobb County isn't just one thing.
No, you're right.
So it's showcasing everybody here.
What do you like most about your job? Like, what do you like most? I mean, because you're kind of telling it through, because you get very excited as you talk about the storytelling and showing the people behind the badges. But what do you love most about your role?
You know, I like what I call the incubation phase.
Oh, incubation.
So it's like sitting down and, you know, at my desk, and especially if I am editing pictures and just thinking of how we could remix this, or this would be a cool content series.
Yes,
You know,
yeah.
especially for videos for our YouTube and our, so other social media channels. I just like that incubation hatching phase.
Yeah.
There's nothing more sexy to me
Ooh.
than starting an idea and then seeing it come out in
Yes.
real life. Like,
Oh, yeah. Very
you can't take that away from me.
Agreed.
Like, it's out of my head and now it's out there in the world and it's for you to decide. So that's that part that I love, just that little hatching incubation phase, and just making sure that we're good,
Yeah,
that people will have a reaction to it.
Yeah.
Because once it's out there, it's no longer mine.
This is true. People remember that. They forget. Okay.
It's no longer mine. Yeah.
But I wanted to kind of go back on one thing, and then I'm going to kind of toss the vibe. But I want to kind of talk about when you came into law enforcement and we saw so many women in these leadership roles. Like, example, our chief deputy, our assistant chief, again, when at the committee, so many women. And then black women, Latino women, white women. It was a variety. How was that coming here and you seeing that? Because I don't know if you maybe had a mind frame like it's going to be mostly all white and black men, if even that.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
I
how was that
definitely
for
had a
you?
mind frame. So my first command staff, I was pleasantly surprised at the amount of female representation there was in top brass,
Yeah.
right? There's this thing that is called empathetic leadership.
Yes. Yep.
And I find that when the women commanders speak and make their presentations, it's not just about facts.
Yes.
It's a little bit different. It's a little bit softer.
Yep.
It's a little bit more storytelling.
Yep.
And that is more engaging.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I like that. I felt the same way, just to kind of add with that, like, pleasantly surprised. I was like, because, unfortunately, we have this perception, if you're not a part of this world, that it's going to be, mostly people that don't look like us.
Right.
So, again, shout out to Sheriff Owens, who's very intentional on changing that. So, again, to switch the vibe. So, I know you said you were like a food blogger and travel person. What does Diana do for fun outside of these Cobb County Sheriff's Office walls?
Diana dances for food.
Ooh, dances for fun.
I always do a little jig. I'm very food is like so important to me because it's memory, it's nostalgia, it's pleasure, it's just all of that. So ever since I was little, I would always be the one that would be like doing a two-step. Okay, dinner is here, or just like swaying when food is here. Travel is a big part of my
Yes,
life.
yes.
I recently came from Ghana this year.
Okay.
Since I've started this job, I've slowed down a bit on the travel, and
We have to work.
my work gets involved, gets like in the way of my life. But I love to travel. So I've lived abroad.
Where?
In Indonesia.
Wow.
I've lived in London. A little bit of time in Hong Kong. I went back home to Jamaica for 4 years and came back here. So
You are very well traveled.
a little bit. A little bit.
No, a lot of people. We're not going to downplay. Who would say they lived in Indonesia? How long did you live there?
I was there for about 3.5 years.
What was like your takeaway living in other countries and coming back to America? What's your biggest takeaway from that?
I was having a conversation with a colleague the other day, and I said, there is nothing. What moving abroad taught me is that you don't need so many things. I shrunk my life down in 3 suitcases.
Ooh.
So it just taught me not to be so materialistic, and I learned that throughout my travels. Like, you need more experiences and more connections than things, and that's what
I love that.
moving abroad taught me. And coming back to America this time around, I see how easy it was to, come on, Amazon is on your phone. Walmart, it's just easy to acquire things, and I would rather acquire experiences and connections.
I love that, even though I felt like attacked because I feel like I'm a hoarder and I'm like, I don't think I could ever take my whole life, put it in 3. But I love that perception because a lot of times we get so obsessed with things, but it's about experiences.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you shared that, okay? And so our last question for the day, and it's going to kind of tie back because again, you have a different set of lens than most of the people that work this agency because you are a professional staff. You're new to this world somewhat, and you come with a different perspective and background. But I want to know, for women who may look at this, right? Because they may be like, oh my God, I thought you had to always be a sworn officer to work for the sheriff's officer, law enforcement. And of course, you're proof that you don't. If they're interested in getting into this, like, what would be some advice you would give to them? If they're interested in being a professional staff, not a sworn person, what would you tell them?
So in law enforcement, there are plenty of opportunities for professional staff. It could be in training. It could be as, a criminal justice specialist, communications here. The support that these law enforcement people need, because they're coming from a world where it's very regimented.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think as professional staff, that's our superpower. We're not that regimented. Right? We're not that regimented, and we come with a different lens. So I'll come in and, I'll take a picture or do a video series of something like, I don't know, when they're doing the physical agility test. That's something that, new deputy recruits have to do. They have to do it in a certain time. And I remember going in with my camera, and one of the sergeants was like, this is exciting? Yeah, it is.
Yes.
People want to know what it's like what is that procedure? So we're peeling back the layers, without sacrificing security, without sacrificing anything that will jeopardize the agency. Well, people are curious. So if an 18-year-old out there wants to know what is the journey of doing a PAT test, okay, so I'm going to take my camera and I'm going to show you got to jump over this fence, you got to crawl under, you got to pull a body, you have to do all these different things. So just know that your differentness is your superpower.
Yes. Mic drop. Okay. I love that. Thank you very much, Diana. Your differentness is your superpower. We appreciate it, guys. We'll see you next time on another episode for 30 by 30, Her Strength and Her Story. Goodbye.